Hey people, welcome to another episode of Doing It 365 with your host, Sir Florential out of Flags 365. This is the podcast where we sit down with all the prominent as well as up-and-coming entities in the Afro-Caribbean community and we find out how they're maneuvering and navigating in the industry, especially during the pandemic. So, once again, it's all about the ladies this month. It's International Women's Month. And this episode is particularly special because it deals with an industry that we often overlook as people, and often the women I feel are overlooked in this particular industry. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Kim Allain from the PR industry of the PR world. How are you doing, Kim? Welcome to Doing It 365.
Hello. I'm excited to do this. We didn't have either that. I'm excited to do this because I'm doing it with a friend.
Yes, that's true. Kim and I are friends for
time.
More than 6 years, more than 7 years.
So
yeah, it's always good to, work and build and grow and highlight your friends that are doing amazing things in their relative fields and industries. So folks, first and foremost, folks, I'd like to remind you all to click that notification bell and make sure you check out the links in the description box because Kim's Instagram page is there and also her business page is there as well. So make sure you check it out, make sure you support and make sure you get in touch with the women that are moving and shaking the marketing that we see in our everyday lives. Kim, talk to us about what exactly PR is. For someone that doesn't know, say you're a GCSE or an A-level student that's sitting down at home, you see all these ads on TV, you see it on YouTube, you see it on social media. What is PR and how does PR work?
Well, for someone that's basic, it's part of the marketing, advertising, media world. So it's part of communications, that's what we call it as a whole entity. But PR in itself is an intricate way of, we call it below the line, and it basically is selling products, selling brands, selling ideas, selling people, whatever, to consumers for free. It is earned media rather than paid for media. Paid for media is advertising, billboards, stuff that you see on TV, on the banners, on like if you click on a page, or it is like, I don't know, the ad break, all of that kind of stuff is paid for. PR is earned. So we have budgets.
PR is earned media.
So we have budgets and we can make things happen, but the fallout and the results of it are earned. So we earn sales, we earn like a respect from consumers or a certain ideology. Everything of it is like an earned way of basically getting people to buy into a product.
Interesting. Love that. That is different because I would not have thought that was PR. I would have thought all of it is PR, but to know that it's, incognito, below the line, different, sublime, but still hard hitting and interesting. And obviously is probably what, the subtle touches. So what are some of the clients you've worked with in your early stages?
In my early stages. So I've worked from in the very beginning, I worked with Barclays, I worked with Coca-Cola, I've worked with EE. So I've always done like a consumer PR. Consumer PR is basically getting us, consumers, to buy into a brand or to buy into a product. And when I did EE's PR, when I did Virgin Atlantic, when I did Barclays, it was all around entertainment. So like I would do this EE sponsorship of the BAFTAs, I'll do EE sponsorship of V Festival, I would do EE at Glastonbury, I would do Barclays during the Premier League and stuff like that. So it was all times where it was an entertainment purpose. I would basically do the PR for that. Then when I progressed on, that was like when I was really, really junior. And then I progressed on to being fully in the mix on stuff like MasterCard at the Brits. I've done, what else have I done? I've done small little things like there was a brand called Absurd Birds that if anybody ever heard about them or you ever saw influencers working with them, it was me mostly all of the time putting it on. We would do like send food to celebrities, we would do all types of stuff. I've worked with Wagamama, I've worked with
Wagamama, hold on. How you work with Wagamama? Talk to us a little bit about that because you're reeling off a whole heap of people. Tell us Tell us like what's it like working with Wagamama now? So how do you help sell Wagamama?
So the thing is with Wagamama, it is a loved brand. Like people like Wagamama, and when you say to a journalist, "Look for food," they're like, "Wagamamas? Oh my gosh, okay, wicked." But it's known specifically for one thing, which is katsu curry. And people go there for specifically katsu curry. So for us, it was going like pushing past that. And it's like, how can you make Wagamama more renowned for Japanese food, but also it being a British brand? So we would do certain things to reinforce this Japanese culture, or to reinforce it as an innovative brand, or to reinforce it as like a go-to, not just for katsu curry. And then it was, how do we make sure that we keep Wagamama in the news? So, you know, if it's like katsu curry week, everyone's going to holler at Wagamama.
Katsu curry week?
So there's always a week for something. If you want a day for something, you can find a day for something. There's going to be like coffee day. There's like wear your pajama to work day. Like there's all these made up.
Is that a British thing? That's a British thing because nowhere else in the world. I think it's probably a British and an American thing because I don't hear about this in the Caribbean. You're from St. Lucia. I'm from Jamaica. We don't have no katsu day in Jamaica.
These are made up things, but we have certain days in the Caribbean that people be like, "How? What the hell is that?" And it's like days for us.
Okay, that's true.
Right. So like they don't know what a Carnival Monday is. They'll be like, "What is that?" But there is a day for everything. And it would be like freshers even is like a period of time where you just think, oh, okay, cool, freshers. People might just walk past it, but brands jump off of that. They say, okay, freshers is coming up. Young people have just got an influx of student loan. How do we basically put them ourselves front of mind so that they think of us? And then we then say, okay, cool, well, we have students, or we do something with students. So it's like taking set days and set things. Like if there's a trend going on, veganism, we then say, okay, cool, head chef, can you create something that is vegan inspired, and we will push that out to the masses, because now it looks like you're on the forefront of veganism. Wagamama's was like the first restaurant to get rid of plastic straws.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We were the ones that said to them, if you do that, you will get good press from it. So we were at the forefront. So every time they spoke about, another restaurant has got rid of plastic straws, Wagamama would always be next to it, because we basically started the trend. And it's my job to basically be like, people aren't liking plastics. If we do this, we can create a trend that everyone else then follows. And then we will continue getting the press and the recognition from it. So, yeah. I
like that. That is different. That is dope. Okay. So we're getting a good idea of you're literally what they call behind the scenes. we have live viewers now. So shouts out to Mr. Thomas watching, who said, it's your fault why I don't have my plastic straws anymore. So
you know, I'm mad at myself as well. I went Five Guys yesterday and had a paper straw and was like, I'm vexed. So I'm as mad as you.
So for the viewers watching, we know, please don't blame Kim for no more plastic straws in McDonald's, but congratulate her on saving the environment. Let's flip it. Let's do it like that, because our Caribbean oceans matter. Y'all want to go back home and enjoy the Caribbean Ocean, right? Let's preserve our oceans in every way we can, most certainly. All right. That is that. You set up quite a lot there, and I'm just like, yo, you mentioned a whole heap of different brands. So what's a day like in the office for Kim? So say it's Monday morning, what you travel into work, go through the door, you're signing or you're tapping or whatever, you sit down at your desk or on the sofa or whatever. What's the first thing you do? As someone that works in PR, what is the first thing you do?
In a COVID world, we don't go in an office. But it differs per your role. A traditional PR, so I worked up into a manager's level in an actual PR day-to-day role, and then I moved over to creative. So my role now is I come up with the ideas for brands. I basically say, do you know what? We should do this. I think we can get this influencer and do this. I'm the brain behind the idea. we sell it in, and then my team runs off and says, okay, cool, let's do the logistics behind it. So I am the ideology behind it. They then do the logistics.
Legwork.
I was in the logistics side of it, and I was doing a PR's day-to-day job. The first thing you do in any PR agency is you open up every single newspaper in the UK, you read it, and you basically write down things that are linked to your competitors, things that look out for coverage that you may have landed for yourself and for your brands. You look out for any trends that are happening. You look out for any pop culture news. You basically scan the newspapers for everything. You write it down. So these are what our competitors doing. This is what we've got, and this is the coverage that we've got that we can brag about and send to our clients. And then these are trends that are going on. These are things that we can watch out for. And then you would send it around the whole agency, and they will read it and then pick things out of it and say, okay, cool. This trend actually might work into something that this brand is doing. So let me send that to my client and say, "Raw, we should really keep an eye on this," or "Why don't we do this off the back of this?" Or we go, "Oh, our competitors are doing X, Y, Z. Okay, we've got our eye on them." Or we say, "Look how great we are. Look at all the work that we've done." So that's the first thing that you would do in a PR agency.
So what's the difference between the PR agency and the PR department or the marketing department in Barclays? Are you like one and the same? How what's the difference?
No. So you would class it as in-house and agency. If you work in an agency, it basically means you're not limited to one brand. So at any given time, you can, I could 1 minute be working on Barclays, next minute I could be working on Puma, next minute I could be working on, The only thing that we have as a stipulation is, like, in our contracts, we basically can't work with competitors. So I can't then go and work with Barclays, Santander, NatWest. I can't work with them at the same time, based on the fact that they are competitors. So one work that I'm doing for one person is going to go against what the other person's doing, and vice versa. It's just common sense kind of thing.
Is that for a set period of time? So is that contracted? So okay, does Barclays have a contract with your agency for 6 years or 10 years or 3 years or 6 months?
It's dependent. So if it was like 3 years, 6 years, it would be classed as a retainer. And that means every month we'll come up with a new idea for you, or they might be saying, we are launching this new bank account, and for this specific project, we want you to be able to PR it. So that could be a 6-month period, that could be a year period, that could be 2-year period, but they'll say this is a project. If it was retained, it means that consistently, you are just our agency. You work with us every single time that we have something coming up, or we want continuous news or whatever else. You are going to be the guys that we look to get it done for you. Mm-hmm. In an agency, it means you work with loads of different brands, and you get the versatility of working with loads of different brands. If you work in-house, it basically means you live and breathe that specific brand. Right. And you would also have the kind of flexibility to understand everything that the brand is going through. So you will know, like, e-commerce, what's happening there, online, what's happening there, their social media, what's happening there. And basically you will give like an integrated view as to how do we respond to something based on you knowing the whole bigger picture of the brand. Agency, it's a bit more like, we're going to have to meet up with some of your other departments to try and figure out what you are going through or doing. But you get to work with loads of different brands. There's pros and cons for both. One thing about agency that is a pro is if you don't have like a real passion for a brand, you get to work on loads of different things, but it also means that your head is above the parapet and you can always see what other brands are doing, even if they're not in your field. So like, even if it's not banking, but Puma's done something interesting that might work for NatWest, you can be like, oh, actually, let's take some of that thinking here and move it over to NatWest, and they can kill it in the banking field because you've done this. So you get to always see what's going on, like, in a broad spectrum.
Which ultimately is the best thing then, naturally, especially in these times.
But with saying that, not necessarily, because if you know a brand through and through and through and through and through, you're always going to have the right answer. When you're in an agency, you don't necessarily, like, you're just basically saying, okay, this is what we think you should be doing, but they might not agree because they might know other things on the background that contradicts that. So you're never on a back foot if you're in-house, because you kind of know what's going on at any given time, and you can kind of be ahead of stuff. if you're in-house. And if you love a brand, like say you love Virgin Atlantic to the death of you, you're gonna want to probably work with them, and you probably get to work on so many different cool things internally. So I know people that have worked for Virgin Atlantic and they've done stuff for Disney because Disney is part of one of the trips that they do as part of Virgin. They work or they work with the Caribbean, or they do a cruise, or they do, because there are different parts of Virgin as a brand. I'm overspeaking, shut me up.
It's no, because you just naturally flowed into the other question I was gonna ask anyway. That is really, really dope. I do love that. Let's talk about now. We've spoken about what's the beginnings of PR, what it's like, and your how you navigate through for the different clients. And you've spoken about the lows now as well, which is I want to touch on, which is like, if you're in-house, you're limited, whereas if you're agency, you get to float around, but then you don't always have a bigger picture, but then it's also so wild that sometimes you might not be able to, you might jump the gun ahead.
Yeah.
As it's International Women's Month, what's it like as a woman working in PR? For me, I'm very curious to know, do you feel that sometimes you're overlooked? Are you underappreciated? Or are you a woman that's, because for example, answer that. Yeah, let me not jump in, because answer that. What's it like as a woman in PR?
It's a catch-22. I feel like I found it harder being a Black woman in PR than I have being a woman in PR, if I'm being honest. PR is, on a junior level and on a superficial level, it's a woman industry. You'll find a lot of females in PR. When you get those senior big boy roles, it's middle-class white men.
What's a big boy role in PR?
Like a CEO, a creative director, managing director, like those kind of roles, the ones that they're overseeing the running of a business, and basically they're getting big bonuses, big paychecks, all of that kind of stuff. It is a predominantly white male kind of space. But in the day-to-day workings, you will find a lot of white women in those spaces. As a Black woman, that's hard to maneuver, being a Black woman. But I'll let you get on to your other questions, because I probably have a lot to say past that.
No, man, don't be shy to talk about it. Talk your truth, speak your truth. All right. The next question then is, how do you cope? How do you stay afloat in that? Is there a support system? Is there a union? Do you find that certain projects you're automatically given because of your cultural background, or are you able and free to dip your hands in all of the projects?
So the first question, how do I get about that? It took me a very long time to be be solid in my job. And when I mean solid in my job, as in like very confident in who I was. But that's because I knew I would sit in rooms and I would sit in brainstorms, and people would come up with ideas that I came up with 5 minutes before. But because I was just like, I knew I was the only Black woman, only Black person in that room at times, I would sink into my chair and I wouldn't say anything because I was intimidated. How I cope with it now, and how I think I thrive in it now, is the fact that I am unapologetically me at every given point. When I sit in rooms, when I sit in meetings, I've sat in a meeting of in the past where someone proposed an idea about diversity being a creative route, and I literally was like, okay, wait, hold on, pause. Diversity is not a creative route. It is an industry standard. And I feel uncomfortable that you even just said that, because at the depth of it, you just using me and the fact that, or my people as a way to sell product. That's not going to run, and that's not what we're going to do.
That's unethical, yeah.
But there's not. That is an intimidating moment to sit and say that. That's an intimidating second to say that. But because people now know me as being unapologetically me, and I think it's been for a good couple of years now, they welcome me to the table because I can check them like that, and they're waiting for me to check them like that. And not only that, they know that I have different backgrounds, different thought processes, different experiences from them. So I'm coming at things at a different angle and a different way of looking at things. And I think that's how I thrive in my setting, by being unapologetically me and refusing to dim it down at any point. If you ever see any of my like PR shots, like headshots on articles and stuff, you always see that I have a different color hair at any given point, and a mad weave. Like it'll be like a pink wig or a blonde wig or a something, because at the depth of it, I know you're going to ask me, oh, so how did you do your hair? In which I'm going to shift it and say it's a wig, because I'm going to be unapologetically me at every given time. And you're going to have to go into my space, not me go into your space, because at the depth of it, I am bringing something extra to what you guys are already doing. If you didn't need me, I wouldn't, you could function. But we can see brands don't function when they do stuff like H&M and Little Monkeys on T-shirts and stuff like that. So at the depth of it, yes, I'm going to be unapologetically me, and I'm going to bring myself to the table. And I think because I don't back down from that, that is the way that I've thrived through that. The other way that I've thrived is finding other Black females in the industry and helping champion them whilst they champion me. I think having each other as kind of soul sisters to be able to connect with and be able to be like, did blah blah say something stupid to you like this before as well, because they just said da 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 da, and like to be able to compare stories and basically strengthen each other through different like experiences that we go through, the microaggressions and stuff like that. That has been super helpful. And then also having people that don't look like you.
Pause. 1 second. You've just said something brilliant, profound, and I want to highlight it because I'm noticing now there's a little trend or a little noise on social media where it's women tear down women all the time, and in the creative industries or the workplace or the market space, women don't support women enough. But here we are hearing you say that you actively went out there and sought out other Black women and women, I would assume as well, and said, you know what, together we're going to push through, and any troubles you have, any concerns you have, any guidance you need, I got you, you got me. So I wanted to highlight that, let people know that, hey, if you're interested, if you're watching this for the first time, or you're rewatching it back later on, or you're sharing it to somebody, you can know that Kim is here. If you're thinking of going into PR or marketing and you need some advice, or you're not sure if it's an industry that will welcome you, trust and know there are women in the industry ready and willing to support you. Go 100%.
Ahead. And I also find, like, of recent, when the higher you kind of grow within your position and within your roles and stuff like that, there are people that come up to me that I'm like, oh sis, you're family now. All right, cool. You need a job? Let me holler at this person over here, because they trust me and they trust my recommendations. So you're getting a job over here. You need a little work experience? Shout at me, because I'm going to get you in my workplace so you can do a little bit of work experience to get a little dot on your CV to be able to get a position. Like, there's more of us than that. It's not just me doing that. I have friends out there that if you
need a job, her Instagram is in the description below.
Because if I can't help you, there's someone I know that's going to be able to help you. Other Black women in the industry that are willing to be able to direct you in the right. But come with actual interest. Because I have people that come and say to me, like, I want to work with influencers, and it's like, but that's not just my job. Like, research what PR is. Actually consider if you want to do it, and then come and shout me. Don't just come and shout me because you think it's a glamorous job and all of that kind of stuff. Because there's a good chance that I'll give you half an answer and then be like, I don't feel like you're interested, so it's best that you don't. So
basically, don't holler if all you want to do is post on IG and take pictures with Harry Pinero.
Basically. Basically.
Shout out to Harry Pinero.
Shout out to Harry Pinero. And the other thing that I wanted to add in as well is it's not just Black women that are championing each other and not championing. There are some mentors, and there are some like real good people in the industry that have helped me out on my journey. My MD now, like, she is one of my closest friends. She became a friend through work, and she has my back. Like, if she needs to pull me and she needs to check me, I've gone on walks with her where she's checked me and she's like, this is not it. We need to like do better next time. But there are other moments where she will champion me. And if I need any help or I need advice, I can go to her and ask those questions. If I want to do something different, if I want to look somewhere different, she always champions me. She always gives me advice as a mentor and as a friend. And then it follows behind with the boss. Like it's the underlying level is I'm your boss, but the above everything and anything, she is a friend, and she's a white woman, so it's not just down to black women as well to help each other out.
I respect it. I respect it highly. I respect it highly. Let's go back now into some more about your clients. Who's been your favorite client to work with? I'm not going to ask you who's been your least, because that's going to be awkward. But who's been your favorite client to work with?
Do you know what? It's going to be so silly. Absurd Bird definitely is one of my top clients to work with, and it is literally a really small. It's a really small. It's called Absurd Bird. It's a tiny chicken shop in Shoreditch. They have one in Holborn. They have a couple in like up north, but it's a really it's not one of my biggest brands in the slightest, but they were fun. Like I was going to Rick Ross parties with chicken. I was doing a whole bag of stuff. Like I did an event with Taser Black where we would do a game, like he would do a games night in the basement. When I was designing costume, they let me do my distribution from Absurd Bird. If anybody ever wanted, like any influencers ever wanted food, I could hit them up. They would be there in a second. The team became like my family. Like I could literally hit them up and be like, I could hit them
when
up.
You talk about food, you gotta talk about me, baby.
No, it was great. Like there's a bag of people that live their best life off of Absurd Bird. Like my friend Ramel,
What
London.
do you love so much about Absurd Bird? What is it about?
You know what? My passion is music. I've always liked music, and their brief was how do we incorporate music and the sound of the South and the sound of like Black culture basically into what we do. And that was when I was like, I'm here. I can do this for you. And they were open to everything and anything that I put forward to them. They were willing to try anything at any given chance. I think they had a rise of 167% like consumers or something like that in the time that I worked with them. Like I loved it. I loved it. But one of my bigger clients that I probably am having a really wicked time.
Side note, quickly, I want to work with that company. I need to be in there with them, because I'm all about the exact same thing that they're trying to do. I would love to do that with the soca and dancehall artists and even the Afrobeats artists, and say, yo, how can we? Because for example, when I'm looking at stuff like +44, big up Delisa, I think her name is. Pardon if I'm saying it wrong. She obviously does a lot of campaigns and a lot of PR and pushing of the artists that do the rap and the grime and the drill. I would love to see +44 with a soca artist like Sandivas or Trini Boy Juicy or Nat and Ish or Simbali or Chanel or Batch or Mersey, just to name a few, to say, yo, all right, cool, how can we get you guys into this space? Because these people like Carnival, they do like soca when they hear it on the road. And obviously when you think of Carnival, you don't just think of soca, you think of everything that includes the movement, so the dancing, the costumes, the food, the drink. So listen,
don't get me started, because I'm a little carnival queen, right? And I love a carnival, so I've been doing this I've been doing this in the background. Every time we come to that time of the year, I'm like, right, carnival.
No, but not just the time of the year. That's why we need it.
No, but you know what's right? Do you know what I'm gonna throw at you? That is a really difficult one, and this is what I've faced and what I've learned in my time, right? So, carnival, as of 2019, 2020, yeah, we were just on the cusp of really breaking through and being recognized as like a Glastonbury. I feel like in terms of brands, but in the UK, the US is very different. In the UK, Black people are a minority. Yeah? Yes. Black culture is a minority, and most brands.
It moves the majority of everything else.
It 100% moves the majority, but the soca scene and the Caribbean scene also is niche, right? So when a brand comes to someone and says, okay, I want to do blah, blah, they don't say, I want to target. They say, I want to target Gen Zs, yeah? 16 to 24-year-olds, whatever it is. I want to target those people. If I then go in with soca, on a day that's not carnival, it's not reaching the masses. It's reaching a niche set of people. And that's what needs to be considered. The fact that if you are a smaller brand and you are trying to go into subcultures and stuff like that, which I feel like brands are going to start doing, they're going to try and immerse themselves into subcultures. But if you're going to them with something that's really niche, it's the same way if I went to them with rock or something that's niche. It is harder for them to just say yes, because their main aim anyway is to uplift sales and sell products.
Yes.
And because of that, like, it will be all great for them to do stuff, but at the end of the day, they want to generate sales. And if that is not going to generate sales, they'll say, we love it, but thank you, no thanks. Which means that the time that you have to target them is a time when the masses are talking about it, which is around carnival time, in which I then say, well, it is my time to do da-da-da-da. And that's when I can start like throwing everything left, right, and center. Black Lives Matter has definitely helped that as well. Because I feel like
I was about to tap,
them to touch the culture, but we still need to see if Carnival is going ahead this year. If Carnival goes ahead this year, holla at me. I've got things rolling, Bridget. In my head, I've already got like, this can run like this. I'm already trying to pattern things. But if it doesn't happen this year, then
let's speak on that now. From a PR's perspective, Nottingham Carnival had a major upscale in branding associations last year, and especially it was very, very beneficial for a lot of the artists who, for their first time, this is where they got a lot of exposure, a lot of radio play, a lot of big collaborations. We saw Kiss FM, Capital Extra, BBC One Extra, The Beat 103.6 FM, Represent Radio. We had what's the next one called? DJ SCE London plays on there. We have Foundation FM as well. We have Pulse 88 Radio. All these stations pumping and pushing soca, but especially I wanted to highlight Capital Extra, Kiss FM. Kiss FM because that's not normally a station that deals with soca and carnival, and they had the artists there like Terra Dan, Batch, Trini Boy Juicy, Some Divas. We even saw the artists going into, forgive me, the studio, that very profound studio. I think it's Royal Saturn or something studio, where they were doing their recording there, they were doing their thing. And then also Samsung was displaying, obviously tying in their launching with their latest phone with the Nottingham Carnival and the costumes. And we saw people that you could say, hold on, yeah, I've seen you in a costume before. I know you do costume. It wasn't just some random girl from, not to be rude, Essex or Norwich or Southampton. It's a girl that I know that lives in London, or she lives in Enfield, or she lives in Streatham. I was, oh yeah, cool, yeah, you're a familiar face. You're known to the soca scene, wicked, and then you're representing us in our finest, purest, most beautiful form. So I feel like that was a major benefit of COVID and the lockdown, so to speak. And I feel like, as well as coming off the back of what you said about Black Lives Matter, that was where brands were like, you know what? Let's do this. But it almost, is it kind of cheeky, because it's like, you've known about this thing for years before, I'm sure. Why did you not reach out 2019, 2018, 2017? So why is it that Black Lives Matter has forced you to now dig deeper into your diversity?
So brands have done it, right? But the reason why brands hide away from it, if I'm being honest, is because they know that they can't authentically be in that space. Not only can they not authentically be in that space, they also don't have authentic people within that space, within their team, to make it happen. So it's kind of twofold, right? We've seen in my industry a lot more of a push towards getting more diversity within the industry, because Black people probably make up about 3%, 4%, might even just say 9% of the workforce in PR. Yeah, like, this is Black people, not Black women, Black people. And I know that I am known in my industry because I'm wicked at what I do, but also because I am a Black female, rare in the industry. So I'm
sure you got an accolade. Hold on, before you jump ahead. What was the recent award or accolade that you got for being the most influential PR? Don't come with the modesty on the doing it 365. You know, you gotta come, give me the, come. You have to do better than that. Don't come with this shy thing. Tell them, let them know.
I didn't even
know why they need to contact you.
I didn't even know that I was being put forward for this or that I was being considered for this. But it was more of like an algorithm. That a company that works within PR did an algorithm type thing and found the top 100 most influential PRs in the world, and I was one of them.
So this is between the man them and the woman them. You was in the top 100
in the world,
not the top 200, not the top 300 in the world, not London, not UK, not Europe, as I like to fling us in there, not the world. You know what that means? My friend, that, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Real. Big up the woman, them international. That's what it's all about, highlighting the prominent entities from the Afro-Caribbean space. This is Doing It 365. People, right now, I want you to stop what you're doing. Go and follow Kim on her platforms. The links are in the description below. Go and follow her right now. Because if after that you don't follow her, something's wrong with you. Go follow her right now. Go follow her right now. All right, cool. Back to what you were saying, Kim.
Well, back to the carnival thing. I think they don't have enough authentic people to do it, and now there's more of a push to get more diversity, quote unquote, into the industry. So therefore, they're going to be people that look like me and you, that understand carnival culture, that understand street culture, that understand all of that kind of stuff, that can say to people, the way that you navigate that is like this. Because the problem is, it will look. They think it does look funny that they've never reached out to a Black community before or worked with carnival or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're in that space. So they know that they have to navigate it in a very
strategically, gently,
and like a sensible way. So there's that. I also feel like there was this ignorant fear of carnival, even though you're probably going to get more crime and all of that kind of stuff in Glastonbury.
Statistically, you do get more crime at Glastonbury.
Yeah, and there's like more drug use and all of that kind of stuff in Glastonbury. But I've sat like very early on in my career. I cannot put this to my agency now or my agency before, but very early on in my career, when I would say stuff about carnival, they'd be like, "Oh, but like, you know, people get stabbed and a lot," because they're going off of what they see in the newspapers. We know at the end of every carnival, people are going to write down, "And 5 people were stabbed at carnival this year," and and they'd make a big thing about the dangers of carnival after it because of historic racism in newspapers. So there was a fear that these middle-class white people that aren't even from London are going to do something, someone's going to get stabbed or something bad's going to happen and it's going to have a bad effect on their brand. So they would just stay away from it because they think it was the best thing to do. When you look at the news around Glastonbury, they hide the fact that there's like loads of like drugs and stuff like that goes on. They hide the fact that people overdose and stab each other and shoot each other and all of that kind of stuff. They hide all of that information because obviously it is a white event. But when it comes to carnival, there was always bad press around it and people had a fear. As we've got further along now into where we are today in terms of acceptance of Black culture, acceptance of carnival, of Black people as to what we stand for, and their understanding that we are really having a big effect on pop culture and popular culture, they are now saying to themselves, how do we get involved with this a bit more? And the other reason why people would have jumped onto carnival last year was because all events were cancelled. So you didn't have Glastonbury, you didn't have any of that stuff going on. And basically for the first March, April, May, June, most brands basically were on a standstill, weren't able to do any events, weren't able to do anything. And they're now thinking to themselves, where do we shift our budget? Where do we do stuff where we can stand out? They knew people were going to be at home. They knew people were going to miss carnival. They said, okay, let's jump off of carnival because that's going to be a way to push our brand to the masses. And it worked. I was proud to see that, but I also did know that it was because there was most other times of the year that they were meant to do, they weren't able to do.
I respect that. I love that. That is very true. I also feel as well, it's not just every and anybody that they can reach out to do this connecting with the culture. Because, for example, for me, I feel like, especially with the soca scene, for me, I've always said that there's a soca culture and then there's carnival culture. And I feel like if you're a quote unquote purist, so you're a carnival goer, and also you're a feta. If you're a feta before you were a carnival goer, you will eventually start to realize and notice the difference. There's people that specifically, the only time they know about soca is when it's August and they're at Carnival, or their friend tells them come Barbados or come Grenada or come Trinidad, and that's when, and they don't know none of the songs. They can't sing them. If the artist was to walk past them, they wouldn't know who the artist is. They'd think it's some random Jim Bob down the road.
They don't know when the songs are coming out. They don't know what songs to look forward to for the year.
Exactly, and I feel like it's very important that we have the soca lovers in the negotiating seats rather than the carnival lovers, because someone that just loves carnival will come to carnival and not even understand why we have a judging point. They don't even know the history of Nottingham Carnival, much less all the other carnivals. And then they're going to have silly debates on social media back and forth and not, oh, why Afrobeat shouldn't be there or why dubstep shouldn't be there. And it's like, you don't understand why you have Nottingham Carnival, much less why you have Carnival in Aruba, Carousel, much less why you have Carnival in Nigeria and the other African countries like Ghana and some of the Southern African countries as well. So I feel it's very important for people to do their due diligence, do their research, do their history, and learn the things and get the right person in, get the right people in, because you can't have anybody representing the culture or representing the people. Like for me, if you're not a feta, if you haven't been to the major fetes, you can't speak on the soca culture. You're not there. You can't speak on the soca scene to that extent because you're not privy to it. You're on the outside.
I would say yes and no though, because the argument that I would pose to you, right, is I'm a feta. I've been fetting, and I am a soca girl. I'm a feta and I'm a carnival goer, right? I'm both, and I know the difference and I see the difference. What I would say to you though is just because you are that person doesn't necessarily mean that you are the best in that room to negotiate. Because when brands are coming to set rooms, and I've done it with music artists, I've done it with so many people, so many times, I have to sit in a room and negotiate with them. They're coming with such an unprofessional or wild way of thinking that it's not going to do them any business any day of the week. So therefore, it makes no sense having them in that room, whether they are passionate about it or not. Like, it makes no sense having them in that room because what they're saying to you is nonsense anyway. Like, they don't know business. They know passion, they know creativity, but they don't know business. Sometimes it is good having a person that understands it, even if it's to a small extent, and understands business, to make sure that above everything, that our culture is profiting off of these brands more than the brand is profiting off of the culture.
That's true, but then on the flip of that, that's where the culture vultures come in, because this person that's all about the business will then be like, well, I want to make sure I profit and I get the big hype and name, and then and then it's like, but the culture doesn't appreciate, the culture doesn't acknowledge you as being a part of the culture and as being as a worthy representative of it. So I feel like in that case, then we need the two people. We need two people. And I noticed that there's a few companies, a few brands now that always send out a man and a woman to go and do such kind of negotiations, because that way you have two people, two different kind of thinkings coming together to represent the culture in the best way possible. So I feel like it's very important, especially in the PR world, to have that balance for sure. For sure.
And the thing is as well, I feel like if you don't understand the business world of it, find someone that does. Don't embarrass yourself.
You'll find you.
Find me. Don't embarrass yourself going into that meeting thinking you can handle it and you can't. Find someone that will be able to talk the business, because you will get ginnels out of money and out of a situation quicker than quick. And then also, like, there's people that go in too low and a brand is like, great stuff. Like, you've just asked me for this amount and I've got this budget. What? But then there's people that go in because they think brand. They go in with some wild numbers and the brand laughs them out the room because they're like, you was never getting that money because you're not worth that money. 1, 2, you're not bringing in sales to make that money. And then 3, past that, we don't even have that budget. So where are you going? And the thing is, brands are not stupid. They have so many different algorithms and programs and stuff like that basically means that they know your followers, they know how many bots you have, so how many followers that you bought, they know how quickly your followers are rising, they know your engagement, they know so much about you that when they're approaching you, you can't lie them out of the rooms. You get what I mean? Like, they know so much. They're coming to you because they value you. You have to go in at a level head of actually understanding the business to then be able to negotiate. I've seen so many people come in with like, do you know what? I want 30 grand for this. And I'm like, 30 grand? Like, I'm here. I'm seeing you. You were not 30 grand. Who are you talking to?
So
It's a big brand. You think you're going to get mad money? Like, we've all been in a recession, you know, like we've all been hit by COVID. You're not getting that money.
But then I'm so happy you've leaned into this topic, because I was gonna ask you that towards the end, but since we're here talking about the money and the branding and PR, that's cool. That's fine. I love when it just flows not naturally like this. This is perfect. This is what it's all about. That's rolling off the tongue. How do you negotiate? So for people that are watching, so this is not in particular. I want, if you're a DJ or you're an artist or you're a host or you're any kind of creative, or you know somebody that's in that creative space musically or artistically anyway, please share. Go and send this YouTube to them right now. Take a minute and go and share this YouTube with them right now, because we're going to speak on some gems. Because in this next segment that we're going to look at, and this also includes the dancers, because what I'm watching and seeing is now TikTok, Reels, Instagram, IG are now where the dancers are thriving, and then they're also helping brands and other people grow and develop. And you're seeing that both in the soca and the Afro beats, in the drill, in the hip hop, the R&B, not really the R&B, but the hip hop. And people are doing now dance routines to help sell records. It's like, it's almost like the mandatory trick now. It's like the what's the word now?
Trend.
What's the word for when you? Huh?
What are you trying to say?
It's not the trend. You know, when you use something like trick card. It's the trick card now to do a dance routine to your song. So you be talking about something crazy in the song, but because there's a little dance with it, oh yeah, this can go on my TikTok, and then the TikTok is helping the streaming, it's helping the spread of it.
How do you
WAP to be one? So first question is, yeah, and remember people, go and share this video right now. If you're a dancer, you're a choreographer, you're a media person, you're an artist, you're a DJ, you're an artist manager, you're a songwriter, you're a musician in any way, shape, or form, or you're in the creative in any way, shape, or form, go and share this YouTube now. How do creatives negotiate themselves to the best? How do you know to go in? Because you're saying don't go in too low, but then go in too high. So how do I know? So that's like how you as the brand know all about this. I mean, how can I research you? How can I know what's your budgeting like? How do I determine to say, all right, cool, I don't want 30 grand, but I'm worth 7 grand. When really and truly your budget is 10. So I'm shorting myself 3 grand. How do I not ensure that I'm not shorting myself 3 grand?
So the thing is, yeah, no brand ever says, okay, I've got 10 grand to give this person, right? They say, I've got 10 grand for this campaign. And that 10 grand has to split between people, venues, things, right? So what they're going to do, and the reason why they will negotiate you down, is because they're just trying to basically make ends meet when it comes to the campaign. Like some of the highest budgets I've seen for a brand this is just in PR. I mean, budgets are wild. I've seen like budgets at 600 grand. I've seen budgets, whatever. But in PR, and this is what people don't understand, PR is not advertising. Advertising, they will have 1.4 million pounds to work with. But the 1.4 million pounds also means that 900,000 of that is being paid to ITV or wherever it is to basically get that brand slot, to get a slot in between EastEnders, whatever else. When it comes to PR, like the budgets could be like, one day a budget could be 30 grand. I've seen budgets that are 150 grand. I've seen budgets that are 190 grand. But that budget has to split between things. And what a brand would have done before they've done anything is, especially me, I will come and say, I want to do da-da-da-da-da-da. But I might say to you, I want to do a festival. I go to the brand and say, the best thing for you to do is do a festival at this time with these people. And how we would do it is get these influencers, da-da-da-da. That brand now needs to take that 190 grand, say it was that, get a venue, do the build of the festival, do security, do lighting, have influencers, blah. So if you ask them what the budget is, they're never going to say, they might have carved out and say, okay, we've got 18 grand for influencers. But that 18 grand then needs to split between people. If you are the highest in what you do, following, best at what you do, you are going to get the bigger amount. If you are starting out and you are a micro influencer, you are going to get the smaller amount. And that is just common sense. That goes with any job, right? But I would advise people to ask the budget first and what is expected. Also, don't try to undersell a brand. A brand knows when you're trying to undersell them. Don't say to them, I want $5,000, but all I'm going to do is one post on one hashtag. That don't make no sense. Like, go in and actually, because you want to do it, because you love the campaign, and also don't sell yourself short. Don't do a campaign just because you think that it's going to bring you money. That is selling yourself short, and after a while, it will do you dirty. As in, I've seen so many people that they've done this campaign, this, like one after the other. And what you've just done to yourself is you've made your followers and you've made your audience realize that you can be bought. And because you can be bought, they're not going to engage with you as much anymore because they think to themselves, well, a brand can get them to post something. And therefore, a brand then sees that your engagement goes down and they're not going to work with you as much. Whereas if you work with a brand because you actually believe in it, you actually like the product, you actually like what they do, and then your followers know authentically it fits in what you do, your engagement is probably going to go up. They one know that you're doing it because of passion. They're one saluting you because you have now done something that has made you they will salute you because they know you're being recognized now. And also, they know you're not trying to shortchange them. They know that you're working ethically rather than just for the sake of doing it. Ask the brand what the project is, what is expected of you, and also the budget. When they give you that, you can decide whether it's worth your while or whether it's not. The other thing I would say to people to do is have no shame in working with other people. And what I mean by that is, I think in the Black community, we have. It's going to sound mad that I say this, but we have too much pride in ourselves that we don't ask other people questions. How did you do that? How did you make that happen? What are you getting paid for this? If you have people in your circle that are doing the same things as you.
I didn't want to touch on that, but yet.
If you have people in the same space as you, and they're getting paid to do stuff, ask them what they're getting paid, because you can kind of put yourself at, oh, okay, cool, I should be asking for this. Make friends with the people that are doing the same thing with you, so you can ask them the questions as, how did you do that? And you can give them that same information. How much are you getting paid?
And it's easier to have that conversation. I can't just message Chunks right now on IG, be like, yo, Chunks, how much did that football company pay you to come and do that thing where you scored the mad goal or you missed the goal? I can't just
because Chunks will be having a conversation with Maya Jama because they're on the same levels. If they're being asked to post together, they're on the same levels. So technically they're in the same pay grade. Or I mean, Maya Jama might be getting paid more because she's like proper like presenter, whatever, and she had Stormzy, all that stuff. But technically, for what they're doing, they'll be in the same kind of pay bracket, or even like a Philly and a Chunks. They'll be in a kind of similar pay bracket. And you can just kind of say, do you know what? Chunks is doing maybe a bit more than Philly. So maybe I should, if I'm Philly, maybe I should ask for a tiny bit less, but I should be in that region. If you have too much pride to do that, get yourself representation. Get someone who knows the business, that knows what you should be asking for set posts based on your engagement and they'll be able to tell you the price. But if you don't want to give 10% or whatever it is for that representation, ask the people that are in your field, what are you getting? And then you'll be able to go from there. And also have the conversation with the brand. How much is the budget? They might say to you 5K. You might say, great, I want to do that. They might say to you 5K and you're like, wait, to do X, Y, Z? No, I think I need a bit more. And then you're just going to go back and forward. They're going to say, all right, cool, no, maybe we can do 5.5. And you can say, no, I want 7. And then they're going to say maybe 6. And then they might say, okay, maybe 6.5. And then you say, at 6.5 is closer to 7. Cool. Done.
I love that. The questions are flying now because it's like, hold on, wait a second. Let's come back a bit before we go further down the money trail and how you budget yourself. Once again, shouts out to all the people watching live. Mr. Thomas is saying here again, way too much pride, which is a massive hindrance. So that's very true. So people, creatives, don't have pride. Don't be shy to ask the right person. Obviously, don't just ask anybody because you don't want anybody knowing that you're trying to, navigate the business and understand it. But you need to understand the business. Get a book. There's books on it as well. People are doing courses on it. Try to sign up to a course. Seeing as we've spoken about people on social media and what we call their presenters slash, I think now the term has changed from influencers to presenters. Everyone's gone from that because presenter sounds more business-like. It sounds more, respectable because that's je ne sais quoi.
So not everybody can call themselves a presenter, and don't get it
That's
twisted.
true.
People that work in the industry are not they're not fooled by the names that you want to call yourself either. So you can call yourself anything you want. I'm still taking you.
Fair enough. The question I wanted to ask you now is, do you think social media has made PR worse or better? So for the brands and for social media, like, are they working together well, or is social media hindering the industry in a way, or?
So it's just evolved what the industry does, to be honest. I think social media has probably hindered advertising a lot more, just because the celebrity, what we used to call celebrities, as in like, I'm not going to even say celebrities, talent. So people that were footballers, singers, whatever, they actually had like some sort of thing why they were famous, i.e. like some sort of entertainment purpose that they were famous. They're no longer resonating on billboards and stuff in the way that like an influencer will, because you've got basically know their everyday life. So it's probably hindered advertising a bit more. And I feel like you're seeing advertising probably incorporating influencers a lot more into it. Whereas PR has always been like because it's earned, it's just basically helped us a bit more because we've now got people who can tell that message in a way that it doesn't even seem like it's PR.
When you say it's earned, what do you mean by that? Because you keep mentioning the PR is earned. How does it work? So is it like a commission? So like, it's like you spoke about the budget before. So does a brand have a PR budget, and then if a certain amount of sales are made, when they get a certain amount of pay? How does it work?
So it depends on the contract that you have. You will get a budget and you will take a fee out of it. So you'll say, for this type of work, I think I should be getting paid this amount. Or if you're in a big agency or whatever, everybody has a rate card. So like, I am worth a certain amount of money an hour. So if a brand has me for a couple of hours, they have to pay a certain amount or whatever. But there's times where you have your fee, it's all great, and then in the small print or something, it says, if we hit this target, we will get a bonus. And that's how you'll get extra money from it. But to be honest, that happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time. To be honest, you just want your stuff to be successful, because if I do something for Puma, let's say, and it's successful, then other brands might look and be like, wait, who just did that for Puma? I want to now work with them so that they can do it for us. And I can then say, well, if you want the same thing, I'm going to charge you more for it. So that's how you would kind of make your money from it. And so an example, right? And this is one of my favorite ones that has ever happened. Favorite stunt. So we do, as PRs, we do PR stunts and we do like campaigns and stuff. A stunt that happened was, I don't know if people saw it years ago. In every single newspaper, it was front covers. There was a Range Rover that got parked outside of Harrods, and someone's cheating girlfriend basically wrote "you're scum" and all of that kind of stuff all over the Range Rover. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that picture of the scorned girlfriend basically writing all over the Range Rover went everywhere. Every single where, because it was like, oh my gosh, look at this car that's been parked outside of Harrods. It trended. It was big. That wasn't a scorned girlfriend that did that. That was Range Rover that went and wrote all over the car, because what they're trying to say is you're a fast living kind of, you've got money because you're going to Harrods and you've got girls that love you and all of that kind of stuff for you to have a scorned girlfriend anyway. And also, we're launching this new car. We want it to be in every newspaper. How can we do it? Let's write stuff all over it, and press are going to pick up on it and think that it was a scorned girlfriend. That is earned PR. Yeah. They never went to the journalist. They never went to the newspaper and said, feature us because we've got a new car coming out. They did something that ended up in coverage. It's the same. It's like when celebrities do PR stuff, like do stunts. Like, I'm not saying Britney Spears did actually. Let's not even use her as an example, but like
so for example, when artists do particular things, all right, prime example, and who want vex in it. When artists bleach them skin, that's a PR stunt for me. I feel in the dancehall industry, it's a kind of PR stunt because now you want attention on you want pressing in, and then you see them now release an album.
Do you know when we can say it's a PR stunt? When Spice did it. Remember when Spice went and bleach up her skin? Yeah? Bleach up her skin.
With
and everybody was talking about it, and then it turned out it was promotion to a song. That is a stunt. That is earned. So you've just got free promotion.
That was brilliant.
And you got it everywhere based on the fact that you did something. That is PR. That is what we do as PRs. We do some sort of thing. Like if I did a festival, it's not me going to the newspaper saying, well, like you have to feature this brand. I've done a festival that people are interested in anyway. So it's gonna land in a newspaper. It's gonna land on social media. It's gonna land in places. So therefore, I've paid for it to happen, but I haven't paid for it to be in a newspaper. I haven't paid for it to be online. And the people's perception of that, i.e., Puma's really cool or MasterCard is really cool because they've done this, you've just earned respect or you've earned a certain way of looking based on doing that. Rather than it being, we've got this new TV program, look at it, it's on a billboard, great, tune in. So social media, when you can pay an influencer that can basically go and do a video to influencer or to their audience, and they can talk about brands that they love, and when I'm working with this and that's earned. Whatever comes out of it, if that video that then goes viral, you've just earned fans.
The reality, and then obviously then you get off the back of that, you'll get probably 1,000 sales or 10,000 sales or whatever. You get or even 500 sales in that day. Depends what your target is, which is dope, which is great.
Exactly.
Interesting, because I'm now. The next question then is there such thing as bad PR? Because they're saying is bad press is still good press because your name's still a talk. But is there any such thing as bad PR? Have you seen something where there's a PR stunt gone wrong or bad PR in?
So I won't say a PR stunt gone wrong. There is such thing as bad PR. An example is, remember Radar Radio?
Mm-hmm.
Radar Radio was a radio station that basically every influencer and every DJ at one point had a show on Radar Radio. It was the kind of sound of the youth and la 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 la. One person came out, I remember I was on a plane to Dubai that day. One person came out and said, they're sexist, they're racist, they're this, they're that. Everybody, one by one, came out and said, I can no longer work, 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 I can no longer work. Where is Radar Radio now? It does not exist. That is bad PR. Yes, you can get bad PR and it can done your dance. But it's really just dependent on your team and how you're able to switch a scenario or educate or learn from a scenario to basically turn it into a positive thing. Yes, you can. I think you can have bad PR, but it's how you respond to it and how you act on it that basically either makes it a very bad thing that's happened to you or basically a positive thing.
Is that now where we get the publicist come in? Does the publicist work inside PR or alongside PR?
So a publicist is a PR. So what a publicist does, and a publicist works in a PR agency, a publicist will work in-house. That is a PR. A PR is a publicist. Same thing. What a publicist does more than anything is they probably have more day-to-day dealings with newspapers and press than just a normal PR, based on the fact that a normal PR is probably doing logistics and all of that kind of stuff, whereas a publicist probably is doing more press releases and more talking to journalists and trying to get stuff in newspapers or get it online or whatever. Get coverage. That's what we call it, get coverage. But it's the same thing. It's probably just the focus on their day-to-day is a bit more towards press than it is towards like other things that happen in the PR world.
That's okay. That's interesting. That makes sense. That's cool. It's good to know. So for any artists, any potential PRs that are out there listening, looking, learning, you know how to navigate yourself and in the niche. PR in 2020, pandemic. Did it slow down for you? Did it pick up for you? How has that been? How has the last 12 months, 6 months been for you as a PR person, and what do you see going forward, the trajectory?
So it's what's crazy is the first day of lockdown was my first day in my new job. I started my new job in a pandemic, and I would have never have funked it. I've like a lot of my work colleagues, I've never met them in the flesh. Quite a few of them I have, but a lot of them I haven't. And it's interesting. It just makes your job a tiny bit more, you're on your toes a lot more. I think brands understand the purpose of PR a lot more and feel like they need PR a bit more based on the fact that when Black Lives Matter was happening, and if your brand hasn't been behaving properly,
and you get outed,
get outed, who's gonna? And even still past that, there's a lot of like PRs. Our job is to be professionals. Our jobs is to be experts and to tell brands what they should and should not be saying. And a lot of brands during Black Lives Matter didn't even know what to say. They didn't know what to say because they didn't have a team that could tell them what to say or what to do. Do you get what I mean? And as a PR, a PR might tell you don't say anything because you're not in a space to say anything. A PR might say, you know what, you've got stuff to talk about. A PR might say to you, do you know what, you've been doing great work for the Black community, so you should talk about it now and you should try and educate other people how to do X, Y, Z. So they understand that. They understand that during COVID, people are losing loved ones left, right, and center. That's a time that you kind of want to talk to your consumers and reinforce that you're there for them. They're losing their jobs, they're losing money. That's the time that you want to be front of mind because you're about to lose sales. So PR has been really important for people. It's just become tougher because I can come up with a campaign and then the next day we're in lockdown. Then what? Like I need to be so prepared. I launched a music studio for Puma in the pandemic, and the Suede studio, and halfway through we went into lockdown. Halfway through that, we had to figure out spacing and COVID testing and all of that kind of stuff. So it's just, you have to be nimble. I think that's the only thing. It's taught me that I have had to be very nimble and very like on the spot, know what's going to happen before Boris even knows what's going to happen, even though that man don't know nothing. Know what's happening and literally be able to be like, all right, cool, I see another lockdown come in. Let's maybe shift some of the work that we're doing a couple weeks so that we're not in the main hit of like the lockdown and like being able to just function past it. But PR, if anything, is necessary because this is a time to really dig down and say to your consumers, we are here, regardless of what it is.
And what's your views of like? Let's speak on Puma, and we're gonna come and kind of close out on this now. You set up a studio for them, the Suede Studio. How is that helping Puma's branding to grow? Is that where they're kind of tapping into the podcasting world and the YouTube world and affiliating their brand with the up and coming musicians? Because obviously we know that Puma, Adidas, and Nike tend to always, attribute themselves to artistry, music, entertainment. Is that Puma saying, all right, cool, we see JD doing it, like JD will have the Michael Dappers and Under Armour will have Anthony Joshua? Is that how PR works as well, how to create that connecting the brand with the community via one of the hottest trends now? Are you lot on trends? Have you ever seen a trend go bad as well? Have you ever tried to jump on a trend and it's like, that's not really for this brand?
So the first part of that question, yes and no. So the actual so this is where my job comes in, right? Because I'm the one that will say, okay, cool, this is the idea, this is why we're doing it. The reason why we launched the Suede Studio is because if you know Puma Suede is the iconic trainer of Puma. It's one of their staple items, and it's been a trainer that they've had from like 1968 or something of the sort. It was the trainer that when Tommy Smith did the Black Panther salute on the plinth, he was holding Suede's in his hand when he did that salute at the Olympics, which then ended up him getting his medals taken and all of that kind of stuff. And Puma has always supported culture in that way. So they didn't drop Tommy Smith. He's always been an ambassador for Puma, etc.
Shout out Puma for that.
Shout out Puma for that. When you look at their history and how Suede has developed, Suede's was there at the beginning of hip hop, at the beginning of breakdancing, and it always was a platform for people to be able to really showcase their kind of culture and stuff like that. That's all great. And Puma has been doing that for a very long time. So they've been sitting there saying, yeah, you know, look, we've got Tommy Smith, we've got Tommy Smith, we've got Tommy Smith. And that heritage piece is really important. But if you want to engage a new generation, you need to be talking about what's next, not just what we've done. And I think Nike does it really well. Sorry if anyone from Puma is listening, but Nike does it really well, where they basically see things come in and they jump on it and say, okay, we want to work in this way. So what we said to them is, it's all great that you've told that story and we still want to tell that story, but we want to bring that story into the now. What is the new evolution of basically Suede being a platform for people to vocalize themselves, for them to be able to create, for them to be able to really push culture? And currently it's the music scene, currently it's kind of podcasting scene, it is audio. And we were in the middle of a pandemic, and at the depth of it, and what was important to me is it's not about Puma inserting themselves in the conversation, it's for Puma to create a platform that facilitates those conversations. Because that's what they've always done. They've been that forum to facilitate that. That's what Suede has always stood for, and that's what it's going to stand for now. So we then created a studio because we knew we were in the midst of a pandemic. People weren't able to go into studios and create and do all of that kind of stuff. So we want to be that person that then, or that brand that facilitates a platform for you to be able to say what you have to say, do what you have to do, and for you to create. My brief to everybody when we got them in, so we've had Shabo, we've had Getz, we've had Ramel London, we've had Free Shots Tequila, we've had Nux, we've had, am I missing anyone? I hope not. No Signals going in on Friday. But with everybody that goes in, I've briefed them and I've said to them, it's not about us telling you what to do. You do what you do best. Please just don't use any wild words that basically a brand can't be associated with. Don't be derogatory towards anyone, etc. But you do what you do best, because it's about creating a platform and letting that platform thrive rather than telling people what to do. So that is where the studio kind of came from. But yes, the best way of doing that with the studio was tapping into a trend that made sense and that Gen Zers basically were already kind of interacting with, because it basically brought them up into a space where it's just kind of like, okay, cool, we are relevant and we're doing it in a relevant way. And that's me.
I like that. All right, final question, and we're going to wrap up here. What can we expect from Kim Allain and your brand Creative Mo going forward in 2021?
Well, Creative Moment isn't mine. Creative Moment is a platform for creatives within my industry to basically review campaigns and work that they've seen, whether they like it, whether they love it, whether they want to call it out, or whether they want to shout it out. I'm just a part of it. I just help and I facilitate it. I was the youngest Black female on their judging panel. I'm probably the youngest and probably only Black female within the judging panel, within the platform that actually contributes. There's normally like a whole load of creative directors and stuff that actually do contribute towards it. But for me, I'm still honing and growing my craft. I feel like I'm doing very, very well for myself, but I want to keep growing in that. One day in the far off future, I'm going to say far off future, I want to have my own space that basically helps brands connect with culture authentically. But before that comes, I feel like I want to learn the business of PR a lot stronger than I do know. I know all the creative, I know how to get things popping on that side of it, but there's a business of it that I feel like people need to know a lot more before they actually go into that world. So I'm going to learn the business of it a lot more. And I want to be able to just create some dope shit. Like, people shout me. Like, if you want to work with brands or if you want someone to advise you or whatever else, shout me. Because I have always felt that my purpose is to be is to help other people kind of create and help other people be in the forefront. I'm not here to be in front of the camera. It's all great to do interviews and stuff like this, but my job is to be able to help people to kind of realize their dreams, but even then past that, is to help our culture move forward. I feel like it's very important. I know that there's not many Black females like me in my role, and I want to make sure that there are more Black females that look like me, that sound like me, that from the places that I'm from, that come up behind me. This world of PR is not just for me; it is for us, and I want to be able to bring more of us into this world. I want to be able to mentor people and like make sure that they don't fall into the same mistakes that I've had to fall into. And yeah, I just want to be able to create some wicked stuff. So if you have any projects, you want advice, you want to hire me to do, let me not say that before my webpage goes mad, but you want to like, you know, get some advice for anything you've got coming up, especially Soca Scene people.
Mm-hmm. Shout. Kim, it's been, I keep saying the word fantastic every episode. I don't care. I'm just going to run with it. It's been amazing, fantastic speaking with you. You've really touched on some interesting things here. And this is what it's all about on Doing It 365, where we highlight prominent entities from the Afro-Caribbean space doing fantastic work, amazing work, doing right by the community in their industry. And we can go to you, we can seek you out. So people, make sure you hit the links in the description box below and follow Kim on her IG pages and follow the Creative Moment page as well. Check out the website, and please do hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next episodes. Go back to the previous episode and watch the last episode of the 365 and comment on there and see. And also, if you have any ideas, comment them below right now as well. Comment them below what you want to do, and if you're going to contact Kim, make sure you do. This is Doing It 365. I've been your host, Influential. We'll see you next time. Take care.